Hello, ghouls and goblins. Hello, Connor Breedlove. And welcome back to Really Scared. How was that?
Is that your ghost face?
Yeah, it's my Roger Jackson voice. What do you think? Did it sound good?
You sound like uh, someone who like hangs around a truck stop and smokes like 10 packs.
Hey, kids, you want to go race dirt bikes around the quarry? How's that? Is that more on brand for
That's more on point.
Welcome back to Really Scared. It feels like a really long time since we've done this, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Like a
a
really
few
long
weeks
time.
at least.
Few weeks, and they've gone by, and they've been some busy weeks, some hectic weeks, but it's good to be back. Happy Rilla Days, by the way. We haven't done an episode since November, actually.
Jesus.
You got the little greens and the reds. I feel bad. We had a real Rilla Days celebration last year, and we haven't been quite there this time. I think that's probably because we talked about like all the best holiday horror movies last year. We kind of
We really knocked them out of the park last
we
time.
really blew it by talking about
Yeah,
Jack Frost and Gremlins and Krampus all in the same month. Black Christmas. All we got left is Ginger
we
Dead.
kind of prematurely blew our wad.
We
last
sure
year.
did. Our Yuletide wad. We blew it. On that note, cheers to you. The Civic Christmas sale, my friend.
The Great Lakes Christmas sale.
Good to see you.
Courtesy of Northeastern Ohio.
Amen, brother. Good to see you. Good to see our favorite ghoul in the chat. What's going on, Jessica? Thank you for watching. I appreciate you. Thanks for these festive little holiday lights around my chair. It's 100% her invention. Great idea. Love it. Appreciate it. Thank you. We got new spin from the real co-host in the chat, Allison Salamone. Oh boy, it's great to see you. Happy Real Days. How you doing? Welcome to the channel, Watt Lady. They call us Watt Boys. Maybe you're a Watt Lady. I don't know. Watt Girl. Welcome. Good to see you. Thank you for watching.
If we get 50 viewers, I'll open up all my presents early.
How much trouble would you get if you open any?
I'd be kicked out.
Yeah, Liv would destroy you for that.
Yeah.
If we get enough Streamlabs, I will run and eat shit into the coffee table like Ghostface. I'll just absolutely demolish myself when we think about that goal.
I like that.
Yeah, me too. Happy to be here. We're happy you're here. Jess likes Watt Lady. Watt Lady. We got a great show for you tonight. It's so good to be back in the spooky seat. Got a big movie. Big one.
Hey Taylor.
Yeah.
What's your favorite scary movie?
I'm so glad you asked. I think we're going to talk about one of your favorite ones tonight, if I understand correctly. Okay. Would you say this is number one? I feel like Evil Dead's also pretty close up to the top.
They're like tied. Depending on feeling, like if I'm feeling campy, I'll go Evil Dead. But number one any given day could be Evil Dead or Scream.
Okay, and this is our first time in the Scream world, surprisingly, up until this point.
It's about damn time.
No one has selected Scream, and I'm very excited to talk about it tonight. In the same way that no one selected Ginger Dead Man this month, which is just a shame. It's a shame. You know, we're gonna have to wait a whole other year now to try to do Ginger Dead Man because no one said that was what they wanted to talk about in December. What a shame. But what's not a shame is we got a great guest with us tonight. If you've never watched Really Scared before, never listened, welcome. Thank you for joining us tonight, Ghouls and Goblins. Every single week, or at least intermittently, a week every now and then, we go live on this channel and we bring on a special guest to discuss a horror film of their choice. And tonight we are, of course, talking about the original Wes Craven's Scream. And we are joined by none other than, you might know her as the Boston Badass. Ghouls and Goblins, put your hands together for Paige Frabetti.
Hey, you have a way better Ghostface voice than I would ever try. I was going to jokingly do that, but you took my gimmick. And I'm glad you did because mine would have been way worse. But I'm so happy to be here.
Actually, I would love to hear what a Bostonian Ghostface sounds like. Go ahead and give it a shot. Go ahead, no judgment.
Right. I got to think of what to say.
The gut you like a pig one is good. Let's hear that one.
All right, ready?
Yeah.
If you hang up the phone, I'm gonna gut you like a little piggy or pig, because she doesn't say piggy. He says pig.
Perfect. I closed my eyes and I saw him there. That was I actually think
That's
that
what I
was
thought,
better.
right? A lot of people do.
I think
Yeah,
that was
people say
Ghostface
sound
is
like
wearing a
Roger
Boston
Dick.
Red Sox hat or a Bruins hat.
a Bruins cloak.
He's actually wearing
Yeah,
a Bruins
a
hoodie
Bruins
underneath
cloak.
the cloak.
Just getting rowdy as fuck at a tailgate party. I can see that. We got my man Suge Knight in the chat. This movie is one of his favorites, and being old man when this came out, it shaped your generation. That's actually really rare for Suge to have any positive feelings whatsoever about a horror film that we're talking about on this show. Allison just watched Scream a little over a month ago for the very first time. Allison, is that what I understand? Very first time? Well, you picked a great time to watch it, not only for our show, but obviously the brand new one coming out in January.
Oh, I can't.
Yesterday
wait.
marked 1 month till the new one comes out.
Dude, I'm trying everything in my power to hopefully get a screener to see it early, because someone told me I might be able to. And I told them I would literally cry if they can make that happen. So, fingers crossed.
I'd probably shit my pants.
I definitely would too. I wasn't going to say that on camera, but I definitely will if that happens. So.
You can say shit your pants on this show. I guarantee.
Yeah, we've said a lot worse.
Perfectly
I was
acceptable.
going to ask if I could swear, but I've gotten so used to, I'm just like, sorry guys. It just blits out of my mouth sometimes. But I'm so fucking excited to talk about my favorite scary movie with you guys. So
that's the spirit. Hell yeah. Well, let's talk about that a little bit. You know, whenever we have someone on the show, you can select this movie for any number of reasons. It's always interesting to hear why or how you came to that conclusion. So obviously you're very fond of it, but all things considered, I would love to hear your experience with this movie or why, when asked to pick a horror movie, this is where you landed at Scream.
Well, it was funny when you generously asked me to be on, and I was like, ooh, I gotta like think of like a movie, because I was like, they must have done Scream because it's the best game movie. And when you told me you guys hadn't, I was like, gotta choose this one. To me, like top 5 films, this is literally has always been in my top 5. I just love this film. Kind of like what Suge said, I really think it like shaped like the horror genre in a new light and tone of being gimmicky but making fun of itself, but also being very serious, and just everything about it, the characters, like it just gels so well together for me. And like if I was to make a scary movie, it would be something like Scream. Like it made me fall in love with cinema so like when I was younger. Probably shouldn't have been watching this movie when I was like, obviously I didn't see it in 96, so I would have been only 3. But when I watched it when I was like 10 or 11, I was like, damn, this movie made me fall in love with like horror.
Yeah, I think definitely like a generation defining film in that everything that comes out after this totally has to figure out how it works in a post Scream world. Like they have to contend with that. And what, you know, when it think of 96 slasher movies, it's like we're kind of winding down on that. You know, all the subgenres, it's ebbs and flows, and I feel like this one's ebbing out around 96 when you think of all the classic, you know, Halloween. It's like the worst is on its way that the series has ever been. Jason's kind of done until they blast that fucker out into outer space.
Nightmare with like Nightmare.
Wes in the 90s, within 2 years,
Wes
killed it.
Yeah.
You got Wes Craven's New Nightmare, which is my favorite Nightmare on Elm Street. You know, that's him like dabbling with that meta kind of take on horror that is like prevalent in Scream. And then he just like 2 years later does it again with Scream. So and that's what I reinvented horror twice in a decade. It's insane what he did.
He really did it, like with the whole meta concept of like not taking yourself so seriously, but also being able to like make fun of yourself and but also pull off like the real suspense of it all.
Yeah,
like,
being so self-aware of the genre that they're playing in, and just like even like the references throughout the movie, and like playing with the tropes and stuff. It's just genius.
Like. No, what were you gonna say?
Well, I just think it's so clever and indicative of its time, and that like, okay, people are maybe getting a little tired or fatigued on some of these kinds of movies, you know, by 96, that it goes, okay, we're gonna like take the cliches and the tropes and wear them on our sleeve and like weaponize them in our favor by treating them, you know, from the same angle as audiences recognize them now, where they are so defined. Things like the Scream Queen and the different rules and tropes of horror films. It's like, okay, if we actually make that a conscious element in the script, now we've got the audience on our side, and we can actually come at it a kind of a tongue-in-cheek angle while also crafting like a genuine horror movie with actual scary scenes in it. But also, you know, people aren't going to roll their eyes and go, oh, I've seen this already. They're going to go, oh yeah, as somebody who's watching horror movies their whole life, they're going to go, this is totally where my head's at right now. Like it's such a cultural like touchstone moment where they just completely nailed it, like lightning in a bottle at that time, and then create this whole new genre, or not genre, a whole new series out of it.
Yeah.
Like I said, I feel like everything has to sort of figure out, okay, if you're going to make a horror movie, how do we make that work post Scream, where it just kind of changes the game all over again?
Yeah.
And I mean, yeah, you said it, Connor. Fucking who better than the master himself, who, as I understand, was like, and he himself was getting kind of tired of, it sounds weird to say with Wes Craven, but he was getting kind of tired of horror movies and the monotony of them. Leading up to like they had, I actually didn't know this until recently. Like I always just kind of thought he was on board from the jump, but it looked like they kind of really had to like convince him.
They had to really like bribe him into coming on board to direct it. I can't remember. There were a few different like names thrown around to direct it, and then it
yeah. I think Sam Raimi was one.
Yeah.
I think
I can see Sam Raimi doing it, but I'm just so grateful it fell on Wes Craven's lap and he just like took it, because that script him and Kevin Williamson did. Literally, like if there's one movie I can quote up and down, is this movie.
Oh yeah.
I just love this script entirely. Like,
yeah, Williamson's the real like champion behind it. You know, who's trying to get this, you know, made it the right studio with the right director, the right cast. Like he's really got the dialed in vision and the understanding of what this movie needs to be, and is very kind of picky about who's going to do it. Sam, I could see like a Raimi version. I think they even asked like George Romero. Like they were really shopping this around to like the who's who of horror directors. But I guess Williamson said everybody interpreted it wrong. They saw it as a pure comedy, and it certainly is, you know, has elements of a comedy, but also still needed to be a genuine scary movie at the end of the day. Of course, it's actually called Scary Movie when he's shopping it around at that time. You know, there's play into the tongue-in-cheekness of it, and those fucking Weinsteins. I forgot. Those names popped up at the end. What always the worst bummer when you get done watching a great movie and it was like Weinstein. We had that the other day with not the other day, but in October with one of the zombie Halloweens.
Yeah.
By the way,
dude, it's crazy. They produced a lot of great films, but they just suck. He just sucks as a person. So
yeah, and you know, the production of the movie, I mean, wasn't easy. None of the Scream movies had an easy like production because of the Weinsteins, and I think that's said for any Weinstein film. They just like always had their hands in the movie and were like, you need to do this. But Wes Craven like threatened to leave so many times on every single one, where they kind of, Wes Craven and Kevin Williamson kind of had their say on what the movie was going to turn out to be, which is probably for the best.
Praise the Lord.
I was listening to another podcast, and some of the stuff like Weinstein wanted in this movie, it's just like complete dog shit.
They tried to
just wanted naked chicks running around doing all weird shit, like.
There's that great part where when Randy's watching Halloween, he's like, "Here's the boob shot." And they cut back to Sydney, and you think they're gonna do it, and they cut away at the last minute.
Trading Places, 1983.
Yeah, that totally felt like kind of a fuck you to that.
100%, 100%.
Like and scene, cut away. I heard the Weinsteins, they tried to put a kebab on the mask. They thought the mask looked dopey, and they had like 6 other masks, and they're like, film this scene, with every single mask, and then we're gonna watch the dailies and pick. And they were like, no, we're gonna do it with this mask, and you're gonna see it's correct. And I guess after they saw the dailies, they just shut up and got out of their way for the rest of production.
Yeah.
Which good. Fucking psycho idiot.
Oh, praise the Lord.
But yeah, so Williamson's kind of the champion of this thing. They're shopping it around, and Craven, from what I understand, passes on it. He's like, I'm tired of these kinds of movies. They feel so passé. They feel so tired. They feel so redundant. He tries to get away from horror, as I understand. Like you said, Connor, he just does New Nightmare like 2 years before this. So that already feels like he's in that, I'm tired of horror. I'm going to do something weird with it.
I think like the next year he did like a TV drama.
Well, he also, what did he do? 95, he did Vampire in Brooklyn, lest we forget.
I forgot about that. Yep.
Yeah, I think
we gotta get back to the horror.
Yeah, I think it's New Nightmare, Vampire in Brooklyn, and then finally he goes, all right, I'll think about Scream again. But to that point, those last two movies, he's clearly trying to get out of his wheelhouse, and I understand he's also like very tired of people coming up to him and being like, Last House on the Left is your best movie. Hills Have Eyes is your best movie. Like, why can't you get back to those days? Which I feel like would be pretty insulting, And obviously, Wes, we love Wes Craven, but later career Wes Craven doesn't have quite the murderer's row of hit after hit after hit as early career Wes Craven. And I'm sure he's cognizant of that people aren't talking about the serpent in the rainbow the same way that they're talking about Nightmare on Elm Street, right? But he's trying to get out of that wheelhouse. He's trying to do something different, and people keep coming to him and saying, do what you used to do what you used to do. And it's not until Drew Barrymore agrees to be in this that he finally goes, oh, this is like a real movie, huh? You got like a real movie star in it, I guess. Which her involvement in this is, there she is. I mean, I think we owe a lot of this movie's existence to Drew Barrymore.
Yeah, and she was originally supposed to be Sydney.
Right.
But was like, I don't think I'm right for it. And then was like, you can, because originally that first scene, I don't think was in the script, because she was like, if you can make another part for me, I'll still, I want to be in this movie, just make a smaller part.
Yeah.
And they came up with this part for her. And it's probably the most iconic, like one of the most iconic horror scenes.
Oh, it's one of them. Yeah. Especially like that cold open is just like so epic that you're just like, shit, I think I'm like, for seeing it for the first time, you definitely think like, this is the person I'm going to be following throughout the whole film.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then within the first 10 minutes, you're like,
yeah, because she's
what
like,
am I getting myself into right now? Like,
she's a star at this point. She's on the poster, and then she dies in the first like 10 minutes, and it's still so iconic that they still replicate that cold open in every single one. And all four of them, you have that cold open. That's it, and each one is like so great in all of them. But this is one of the most iconic openings to a horror movie.
It's my favorite too. Like even like Fear Street, like 1994, like literally referenced it with like that film. Like they took that same sequence and pretty much did the same exact thing. Like and with Maya Hawke, and I just like, it just shows what Wes Craven was able to do, that he influenced the horror genre so much with just, I mean, with all his other films like from the 70s and the 80s and the early 90s, but this film like really changed like that genre to complex, like just so much. Oh, I just love it so much.
There really is, like, that was the first thing I could think of when I sat down and the movie really started, and I was like, oh fuck yeah, isn't this like the best opening scene of any movie ever? Like you really can't craft it better than that. Like you could just pocket that whole sequence in itself and release that, like, and that would just be its own short film, beginning, middle, and end, all on its own. Like it's a perfect like late night ghost story. You know, it's very, the call was coming from within the house kind of story. But it like totally nails the tone. It nails, you know, how much of the homage aspect of it exists. It's, you know, it's talking so involved with, like, Halloween reference and Friday the 13th. Like it's so instantly encapsulates everything that the movie's going to have for you, and that it's really a love letter to horror fans. It's a love letter to people who are like tired of horror movies by now, and it's finding a way to appeal to everybody, and just from the jump. And it's got that psycho element too, right? Where it's like, here's the movie star. This movie does have the distinction of having like a lot of name actors in it, which is not something that happens in horror a lot, especially for the first film in a series at the very least, because they typically are very low budget and cannot afford a bunch of name actors. But this one, Nev Campbell's got Party of Five rocking, which I think is what nails her the role in this. Craven's at home watching Party of Five, and he likes her. Courtney Cox, I think, like she's the one who campaigns to get in it because she doesn't want to be typecast as Monica her whole life. It's like I want to play at a different speed than nice girl in the apartment. I think Arquette auditions, and even though I think at the time that he did, like Dewey was a much more like hunkaroo type character. He was like the brave leading man, and I forgot how useless he is in this one.
He really is. He's actually kind of quite hilarious because he's like the doofus in it.
And like Matthew Lillard auditioned for
Skeeter's role as Billy, right?
Yeah, he auditioned for Billy, and they passed on him. But then, like, they liked him so much, but not for the role, that they created the Stu role for him.
Yeah.
It was one killer originally, and then they were like, oh, "We love this guy, but like, I just need a new role for him," and so they gave him Stu, and like he just kills it so much that like in the 90s he kills it, with SLC.
Literally, he killed
all kinds of stuff. Yeah, has like the best one-liners in this movie.
He literally has him and Jamie Kennedy have the best quotes in this film, like hands down. That like if I was them, if I was to only do one film and it was Scream, I'd be happy for the rest of my life. Like, and I hope they are, because they have like the best quotes like ever in any horror film. So
that's a good point. Jamie Kennedy, like basically his breakout role, right before he becomes, of course, the son of the Mask.
Malibu's Most Wanted.
Exit people.
Forgets his own television show. And he's great in this.
Taking it old school.
I forgot about that movie. Oh my god!
How could you have forgotten about that?
How can you forget about?
I just always think of him as B-Rad or Randy. So
we're always talking about that everywhere we go. There's a real Skeet Ulrich love fest going on in the chat. Meanwhile, as we talk about this, everybody loves Skeet and his brooding eyes. It takes a lot to be named Skeet. Right, and
it really does. But to be that attractive and your name be Skeet, like, good for you, man. Because
he had to. He had to do it.
They casted Skeet because he looked like Johnny Depp. That's true. Literally why they casted him.
Right, and they totally recreate. Like, there's a lot of like Craven homaging himself in the movie.
Yeah, you got Craven playing
the janitor,
Freddy the janitor, wearing a Freddy sweater and the fedora.
And they talk about, like, I was gonna say Taylor, like, I know Vader isn't here right now, but like literally in the opening sequence, like they literally talk about movie trivia, and like how great is that? Like they're literally like the killer is literally like asking her like horror trivia questions. And like for me, like, and he's giving like the homage like to his film when he was like, "What do you think my favorite scary movie is?" And she's like, "Nightmare on Elm Street." Like, of course, like that was the one like they threw out.
Obviously, the best one. And they even have the thing where she's like, the first one's the best, and all the others suck. Like,
And this movie was threatened with becoming like the video nasty because it earned an X rating at the time. It was X because the reveal. Well, Steve, the Steve scene, the Steve reveal.
Yeah.
Initially, you saw him being gutted and having his guts pulled out, and then seeing Casey hung up in the tree, like that was more bloody and gruesome. and that opening scene alone gave it an X rating, and they fought really hard. But now it's like you can only see it on Laserdisc. That
Yeah, I
cut.
mean, like when she's
Really?
hanging, you can kind
Yeah.
of see like some guts hanging, but it's like it's a far shot, so you don't see
Yeah,
too
it's
much. But
very
yeah, with
quick, but
her boyfriend, you
it
don't see
lingered,
anything.
and it was like a more like dramatic and gruesome scene, but they like cut it up. But yeah, that opening scene gave it an X rating, and they really just did not want to cut anything out. And
It's
then,
probably like with Taxi Driver, they're like the blood is too dark, so you need to lighten it up a little bit. Like,
but going forward, every single Scream going on, like going forward, they made bloodier, so they like could cut stuff out without like sacrificing stuff they wanted.
Yeah.
Except for the third one is the least bloody because Craven was like, I'm just gonna fuck around and do something completely different.
And I understand the comedic tone kind of helped too. It take a
Yeah.
little bit of pressure off the crew in the editing room in terms of how much core they could leave in. If like tonally, it wasn't played so serious and so dire. Somehow that made the difference in what they were able to get away with. It always surprises me when we do some of these bigger classic movies to find out how they're super cut down. Like it seems like it really doesn't take a lot for the MPAA to just go straight NC-17 on every horror movie. It seems like every time we look into one of these, that's how it starts, and they cut it and they cut it and they cut it and they cut it until it's finally an R. I thought we moved past this puritanical shit like a long time ago, but it seems like every single one of these movies has that issue. And I would love, everything gets remastered now and put out for 4K editions and exclusive streamers and things like that. It's like, and the only way you can watch the original cut of this was on Laserdisc, you said?
Yeah.
Dude, that's insane. Someone send us the Laserdisc, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do a Laserdisc watch along.
Yeah, that's the only existing like director's cut version is on Laserdisc.
That's insane. Like, I'm so curious. Like, I mean, I love this film, and I feel like it flies by every time I watch it because it's only like an hour and 45 minutes long.
Yeah, and it flies by.
It literally, that's what I love about this film. It gets like, there's no dragging moments.
Yeah, like once you get to the party scene, like it's literally, it feels like 20 minutes. Like it just flies.
It does.
And that's like the whole movie, and it just like flies by because there's so much like going on. It's just amazing.
I had a little bit of that last night because it'd been a good while since I really sat down and watched this, and now obviously is the time to do it. And when it got to that party scene, I was like, "Oh fuck, this is the last scene." Like I know it's gonna go for a little while, but like,
yeah, it's like the third act, and like but it feels like already it's like half the movie, kind of how quick it gets to it.
I was like, "Oh shit, we're not gonna cut away from this for the rest of the movie." Like this thing does move real quick. Like it never drags, never gets boring. It totally holds up. It's been out for quite a bit now. It still totally holds up. Like this thing's a joyride. It's great. But can we talk about just Ghostface a little bit and how that character works? And we were talking about again how the self-aware, element, the sort of low camp element of this film, I love, and this will always be one of my most favorite things about all of these movies, is how Ghostface is just always some asshole in a Halloween costume. He like everybody else has got powers; they're unstoppable. You can't kill them, and this just some idiot running around in a costume,
running in the tables, running into doors.
Yeah,
like, but it doesn't take away from like the actual threat of a real person behind a mask with a knife. Because I mean, even in that opening scene, like we keep going back to it, but right away it like introduces the threat, like where he's like, he's talking about like being at the door, and then he says, "I never said which door I'm at." And then throws the door or the chair through the glass door. It's just right away. It's just menacing, and the threat is right there.
Yeah.
That's what I love about it, because it brings you down to like a humanized level of holy shit, like anyone. Like, this can happen in, like, real life. I mean, then again, like, Scream kinda is based off of, like, something that happened in, like, Florida, like,
Yeah,
in a sense. So it, like, it feels like it can be real, like, this can happen because it's just a normal person, like, dressing up in this costume, getting
mhm,
revenge, or just killing their classmates in a sense. It's just ugh, that's what I love so much about it. Because like, my other favorite scary movie is Halloween, and I feel like they also use so many references to John Carpenter's film too. I mean, not only
Yeah.
do they mention it so much, but they're also watching it, like, throughout the film, and, like, obviously Ghostface is, like, not that the mask is, like, similar at all, but, like, they both have, like, white spooky faces, like
Right. Right. It's it's about a group of kids and about a town and a generation growing up on horror movies. And then like, okay, what would actually happen if one of those kids, or in this case, two of those kids, really tried to replicate that? And it would
Mhm.
obviously go nowhere near as smooth as it does for the actual movie slashers who are, unstoppable, if not supernatural in certain films. They're getting hit with cars and they're getting blown up and shot and they just keep coming. They'll walk right through the wall and
Right.
squash your head like a melon. But this, they're just two dumbass high school kids and they're running into tables and they're falling. I forgot how funny it is, the scene in the garage with Tatum where she's just throwing bottles at him.
Yeah, and he's
And they're
trying to
just
dodge
like,
him, but he's just getting hit, and he's like, "Fuck, out," like
yeah, there's almost no scenes in this where they try to kill somebody and they don't get their ass kicked for a little while first. Like,
That's why I love this character, because 'cause they're also like, this is what would really happen, like,
yeah,
it isn't gonna be, like, super simple, like, they're just a human. So, like, you throw something at them, they are gonna react, unlike in, like, Halloween or, like, Nightmare on Elm Street, like, they're supernatural in a sense.
and
yeah.
and Taylor, earlier you mentioned how we didn't do like a um, holiday movie. Technically, this is a Christmas movie.
Is
Did you
it
know that? Yeah, it was released 5 days before Christmas.
Yeah, I was gonna say it
really?
was released in
Yeah,
December, yeah.
yeah. And that's the one thing that like the Weinsteins wanted to do that kind of actually was like a good call. Because I can't remember what was opening around it, but they they wanted to release it in December as counter programming
Mhm.
because they were like, all the college kids will be home for Christmas, and we
Mhm.
want something that they can enjoy instead of like drab like holiday films. So they'll want to watch something. Why not a horror film? And originally it did like flop opening weekend. I think it opened like at number like it opened at number 4 with 6.4 million, but enough people saw it, and every week it went up and ended up making 100 million at the box office.
Which
It's
is
like one of
crazy
the
in the
only
90s.
films to
Yeah.
go up and stay at the number. I think it stayed at number 1 for like multiple weeks, like 5 weeks or something.
Can
And
I
that's the
for
thing, this film is such a cult classic that it never, like, watching it now, I mean, I swear to God, I watch this movie at least once a month. Like, and I
Yeah,
watched it last night because I saw your tweet, Taylor, and I was like, I'll watch it, like, why not?" Like, and, like, it really, like, it doesn't, like, lose its quality at all.
it
It really
doesn't.
is, like, the definition of, like, a cult classic. Like, this film just gets, to me, like, better and better each watch. Like, I've
Yeah,
seen new Easter eggs, or, like, I noticed something in the film that I'm just like, even though it's set in the '90s, like, I mean, then again, like, I'm wearing mom jeans right now. Mom jeans are coming back, like, next thing you know it, our cell phones are gonna be really tiny or
yeah.
fat as hell,
If you
like
think about it, the movie's more relevant now,
yeah.
like in the past few years, because the '90s are coming back. Like everybody's like I if I saw this movie for the first time, knew nothing about it, I would think it was made like in the last year,
yeah.
just
Yeah.
because like that's how everybody's dressing now. Like it's just like that's how it is now, and it's weird how it like pretty much style choices kind of go in a loop
Mhm.
because it does seem like this like everybody looks like they could be in this movie today.
That and, like, every character is, like, so relatable in a sense,
Hmm.
like, I mean, we would probably all be considered like the Randy friend.
The Randy, yeah.
Because we all love like scary
Even
movies.
when I saw this at like 5 or 6 years old, I was like, I'm Randy.
I was like, I hope I can be Sidney Prescott, but then again, I don't want someone going after me trying to kill me over the course of like a decade. So I was like, I'll be Randy because, well, besides the horrible, we won't talk about Scream 2, but R.I.P. man. But but like the only downfall is that like I wonder if people watch it now, they're like, wait, what's a video store? Like, because that's like also one of my favorite
Every
scenes.
time I get to that scene, I get super depressed because I worked at a video store.
Yeah.
Oh, that's dope. I'm jealous. I wish I did.
And like I just think about that, I'm like, damn, I was Randy for a moment.
We'll just call you Randy from now on.
Yeah.
Were you screaming in the aisles, making everybody very uncomfortable?
Yeah, like everybody's a suspect.
Everyone's gonna be butchered. You know what I had? Maybe this is my like Gen Z wondering what a video store thing is. Was there ever? I'm gonna look it up right now. Was there really ever something where deaf people could IM 911 online?
Yes. Yeah.
Was that real?
Yeah.
I was curious about that too, but I feel like it was like. I mean, we had like AIM like back in
when
the day.
the internet first started, yeah, that's how, yeah. Because they had somebody on the other line and they, like, deaf people would dial in via web. And then someone on the other line would be on the phone with the police, basically explaining what's going on.
So Taylor, do not look it up right now and try that because the police may show up at your house. So
I was trying to be very clever about how I Googled it, so I didn't click on the link and alert the police. I just wasn't sure.
It's funny that you said like deaf, like that was for deaf people. I honestly that never clicked in my head that oh my god, it definitely is for like deaf people because obviously they wouldn't be able to.
Because they use that a lot in like the 90s horror films. I think
Really? Yeah, they did.
In Urban Legend, they play with it. The whole like dial 911 via internet. They use that. And then they use it a couple more times in Scream. I think they use it in Scream 2.
Do they?
Yeah.
Yeah, they do.
It was a big thing. Like
I had no idea. I didn't know because like movies in the like late 90s, whenever they wanted to depict the internet, they always have it doing some shit it definitely wasn't doing at that time. Like wasn't even conceivably possible. They were just like
cracking
the web
mainframe.
yeah, hack into that mainframe and such. Look at there's always like swooping graphics and things like that across the screen. Like email is some insane technology. So I wasn't sure it was something like that, but okay, the more you know. It's good. That's good to know. I won't click on any of the links about that.
Yeah. Don't type up 911.
Yeah, don't swat yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's self-swat. You know what else struck me in this movie, which probably maybe it goes without saying, is kids are really fucking demented, aren't they? They're like, they're so mean.
Well, that and also like one of my favorite lines in this film is like, movies don't create psychos. They make psychos more creative.
Yeah.
And I was just like, damn. I was like, fuck, am I a psycho? Because I really like scary movies. Like, it literally like made me think. I was like, fuck, maybe if I was to kill someone, like, yeah, man, I watched enough scary movies that like they definitely helped me along the way if I was to do it. Stating this right now for the world that is seeing this, I'm not a serial killer. I've not killed anyone.
Well, I mean,
as of yet,
that might be that could be something Ghostface says.
Yeah,
I'm not a serial killer.
Yeah, we're gonna clip that without the disclaimer.
I didn't ask you what your favorite scary movie was, so I'll come up with like a better one.
Yeah, you got to the end of the episode to come up with a good threatening question for Connor.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was like the part in the school where like she's just been menaced by a serial killer, and
oh my god, yeah,
one of them's got the costume on. They're running down the halls. I was like, damn, but I feel like that totally would be some weird like modern day like TikTok ghost face challenge. You know, you get the
make it happen, Taylor.
Yeah,
I'm like the only chick that doesn't have TikTok, probably.
No, I'm waiting for something like that to pop up because Scream or Five Cream, if you want to refer to it.
I wish it was Five Cream.
That's what I'm going to forever consider it. Five Cream.
Yeah.
It is.
They started an ARG, and there is like a TikTok campaign, and they created a TikTok as like some like side character who's like making TikToks as the murders are going on, and it's very interesting. So I'm waiting for like the
Okay, that's
Ghostface
dope.
challenge to come on and stuff. Like, I'm sure
TikTok
they're
will
gonna do
definitely be in
something
the new
really
movie.
cool.
TikTok will be in Five Cream, 100%.
I wish it was 5 Cream, because let me tell you, it just being called Scream really messes up like the SEO of this movie, where I kept like queuing up this movie to watch it, or like pull it up on IMDb, and then I look down and I'm like, god damn it, it's the 2022 version.
Yeah,
Kept
it
happening
is
to
weird.
me.
They're doing the 2018 like Halloween thing, but I'm like, does everything else like, is it still like in the media? Like, I don't know.
I don't.
Do all the other films come before it like still in like?
Well, that's I mean,
continuity?
every movie is playing with something. Like the second one is playing with sequels.
Yeah.
The third one is like the end of a
Yeah.
trilogy. The fourth is
The fourth one's like
this
the
one
fourth one's
is
my second favorite one.
playing with the legacy sequel.
Okay, I fucks
So
with
they're
that.
gonna
Yeah.
be
The soft
obviously
reboot.
Yeah, they have that like Halloween 18 like
Okay, I
mentality,
get that. I
and
get
they
that.
are
Okay.
going to be heavily referencing stuff like that. I'm sure, which I mean, Radio Silence I trust completely, and I know
Yes.
like they're
After
gonna
seeing
have
Ready or
something
Not, I
really
was like, fuck
creative to
yeah.
say about like the legacy sequels and stuff, while also doing something new with it.
I think that new one's gonna be wacky as hell. I don't.
Yeah.
They're gonna get crazy. I saw that shot in the new trailer with a gold chrome ghost face, like
Yeah,
with a
the
flamethrower.
chrome gold
Yeah.
face with a fucking flamethrower. That is going to be insane.
Dude, all I'm saying is from Scream 2, how Dewey had his little like country theme song.
Oh,
Like
I
when he's
love
I
that.
really hope he gets that when he's in the hospital, because
Yeah, you know
like
it's
loading
gonna
the gun
play
with the
in the
bullets
hospital
dropping.
when
I was
he's
like, yeah.
reloading
Right?
his
I was like, dude,
It's
he looks like a badass right there. He's finally getting that chance, right?
Yeah, to revisit it, I totally forgot how purely useless Dewey is in this, like, because he becomes such a great character and kind of hero throughout the rest of the movies. He virtually has no impact on the ending of this. Like, he shows up, goes for a nice little walk, gets knocked on the
He's
head.
the cool cop bringing them booze.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, what's that all about? He's a deputy and he's bringing him to this rowdy
I
high school
literally
party.
mentioned that to someone last night while I was watching it. I was like, wait, like he's just like bringing them alcohol to a party and he's a cop and they're all underage. I mean, like that's a cool brother, I guess, but at the same time, like what the fuck? Like,
While the city's under curfew on fear of a serial killer.
Yeah.
let's all look a rager real quick. But like the whole thing
Ahab
too was like,
except Dewey.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess he's not hurting anybody. At least, if anything, only through negligence. And he's all starry-eyed about a TV news reporter who's like totally playing him up to get a scoop, and he's just so naive. And yeah, I don't know. He's definitely kind of a dipshit in this. I totally forgot about that.
100%. Like, especially when Tatum, like when they're first at Sydney's house, like after this sequence of her being attacked happens, and like Tatum like runs up to Sydney, like it's like Sydney, like you're coming home with. He's like you can't be here. It's a crime scene. She's like, she's coming home with this dipshit. He's like, it's like something. He says something about his mom, like, and I'm just like, dude, like he gets like he doesn't get the shit end of the stick, but like you definitely like want to laugh at like everything that happens to him in the movie,
Especially
like
when
even
they're at the house after she gets attacked.
and he's holding up the ghost face mask, right? And he like screams.
Well,
like,
no, when they're at Tatum's house and like the killer calls, it's after
yeah,
Billy is arrested and Sydney's at Tatum's house and she gets the call and the killer hangs up and then Dewey runs out of his room in his boxers.
yeah.
And it's like, hello. He has like his gun in his hand.
Yeah, he really, yeah. I mean, but that's the thing though. I love his character so much, and like I feel like all of the characters have like growth within like the franchise, but like this one like starts it off as like who these characters are and what they're going to become, kind of in a sense. Like, I mean, Gail's always just like, I love her, but she's just like a bitch. But like, and Sydney becomes more and more badass throughout all the films.
Gail's got the drip.
She does got that drip.
Yeah, that lime green
lady suit.
Yeah. Fucking.
Is it the next one where she gets the haircut that people repeatedly dunk on all the time?
Yeah, the bangs.
Yeah. I will never get those.
Yeah,
she can pull it. She can pull it. But
you dig it a bit. No, yeah, nobody dunk on our queen Gail Weathers. She does have a great, arc throughout the movies though, because she is for basically almost this entire movie like pretty repugnant, like not empathetic whatsoever. It feels very much like sensationalizing tragedy and cashing in on it. There's that little scene where she looks like she's actually trying to like affect positive change in the world, and Kenny gets all excited. We love Kenny. He's great.
All right, Kenny.
And she's like, oh, I can get a sweet book deal out of it or something, and his smile just drops. Like she's very exploitative, which is still, I think, true to life even now. So her very gradual turnaround to being a hero and like part of the main three and somebody that like Sydney trusts and befriends is very satisfying to see. And even, Dewey obviously steps it up in the sequels too, I think, by necessity. I think like he's the one in this movie who's not prepared to be in a horror movie. Like he has no frame of reference of what these other kids are talking about. So he has to like learn trial by fire in this movie. And then by the sequel, he's 100%. Ready to go. We never really get to see him react to, I just don't think so. We didn't really get to see him react to the fact that his sister gets killed with a garage door.
I feel like that is never mentioned.
It's never mentioned in any of the movies.
Any of them.
And
I love Tatum's character. Like that whole scene in the garage, she's like, "Please don't kill me, Mr. Ghostface. I want to be in the sequel." Like that whole sequence right there is just like awesome. Like it's crazy that like she was like a great character in it. That like she never gets like spoken about ever again. And her character is one of like her brother is one of the main characters like in the film, like in the series. So like the fact that it's never brought up again, I'm just like, I don't know.
Yeah, also an insane kill. One of the most insane kills I've ever seen.
She's the only one that gets killed by Ghostface that doesn't get like stabbed to death by him too.
Yeah, they get pretty creative. I remember when I watched this movie the first time. I don't know exactly how young I was. Definitely not 96 quite. Because I think the way I saw this movie, this is classic, renting the VHS, not from the Blockbuster, but from the library. You know what I'm talking about? Connor knows this life hack.
Top.
Big old box.
Yeah.
Big old cassette box. Renting it from because I was pretty young. We talked about this before. Great life hack growing up. You're young. You want to watch a scary movie. It's rated R. Nobody checks ID at the local library, baby.
You got a library card. You can rent whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah. So I think I saw all the first 3 Scream movies through that by renting them at the library.
That's hilarious.
And perfect, reap what you sow fashion. The garage kill in this really shook me very, very badly as a child.
I had grandparents. I had a grandpa specifically that wanted to scare the shit out of me anytime I stayed for the weekends. And having a sister that has a Halloween birthday, I was terrorized for at least 10 years of my grandpa dressing up as Ghostface and then just showing up out of nowhere and then chasing me around
in the garage,
chasing like the other kids around with like one of those fake knives with like blood in them, so it looks like a bloody knife. Yes,
I want to meet your grandfather.
Yeah.
I gotta say, Connor's grandfather. It's amazing how many different bits your grandfather has had. There's anytime we talk about like a classic horror film that everyone's seen, there's always a moment in which Connor goes, "My grandpa dressed up like this character and terrorized me for dates." Like it happens every time.
Like good taste in film.
Friday the 13th, he would be like down the dark hallway just doing, and I'd be running like to the bed.
Is he single? Have him call me.
This dude had a lot of tricks in his bag. Like,
he had a lot of bits.
Good bits. Did you guys ever do Ghostface for Halloween? I definitely dressed up as
Oh,
Ghostface
yeah.
at least once.
Oh yeah. I mean, a couple of years ago, it was Casey Beaker. It's Becker, I think, for Halloween, and that's like one of my favorite costumes I ever did. But this year, I actually tried to look at this, man.
Wow, speaking of
Oh,
drip,
yeah.
Drip, man. What?
Screamed up.
Literally this year, I actually last minute I was like, oh my god, I want to be Ghostface for Halloween because of the new film and stuff. And I could not find a Ghostface mask anywhere,
really?
which made me so sad.
Yeah, there's a lot of Ghostface.
But I definitely was as a kid, and I was like, "Fuck, why didn't I keep the costume?" Like,
next year you're gonna have so many chrome Ghostface.
Oh, of course.
oh, I'm getting one. I want my
Running
hands
around.
on one. That's all I'm saying.
Do you guys
That's my
remember?
costume next year.
You guys remember? I don't know where this one came from. It was the Ghostface mask because I do think the Ghostface mask doesn't exist prior to Scream. Like they made that for this, and that's where it
Mhm.
takes
No,
off
they
from, right?
they found that from it wasn't Ghostface. It was oh, what was the name? Father Time?
That's not as good. I apparently I also
The name was Father. It was hold on, I got it right here. It was developed for novelty stores between 91 and 92 by Fun World.
Oh, so it wasn't actually just the Halloween costume.
Yeah, it was literally like a novelty store, like Halloween costume that one of the set designers found, or Wes Craven found it.
I feel like he just has a bunch of shit in his basement he finds
It
throughout
was
the
him
years.
Yeah.
and producer Marianne Maddalena who discovered it, scouting for the film, and it was like it was Father something from
That's
Fun World,
crazy.
and they couldn't get it back until I think like the third or fourth film. Like the second one is like a replica, and then they eventually got the like true one back because they were fighting over rights with Fun World.
Well, I hope they won those rights because sorry, Fun
They
World.
did, yeah.
Scream made it happen.
Yeah.
They made your mask popular.
They had apparently also planned on like the killer to look like a straight up ghost from head to toe and had him up with a white cloak.
Yeah, they
originally.
had white cloak originally, but
That
they
would have
said
been
it
actually
looked
pretty
too much
fucking
like
cool.
Ku Klux Klan wear. And they were
Okay,
like,
yeah.
yeah,
Take
you're
back what
going
you just
black
said.
robe.
Smart decision on their behalf.
Yeah.
Well, when you think
Smart.
of all the shout outs they give to Halloween, you know, obviously very legendary, and we talked about it before, you know, that just kind of Michael Myers costume just kind of comes together, you know, with the old Shatner Halloween mask. So I feel like it's pretty appropriate that this in the same way just ends up being something Craven found at a toy store years ago, and he's like, I don't know, I got this laying around, maybe we'll try this out.
Let's see if this works real quick for the movie.
They've got
And comes
like,
like one of the most iconic
They
masks.
put it in. They couldn't decide on what the killer was going to wear, so they just used this because it was like $2 at a store, and they were like, "This will be a placeholder." And then like the crew just loved it enough. They're like, "This is what we're going with." And then like we talked about earlier, they were like, "No, we like this design," and they're like, "No, it's what we found."
yeah,
And it works so perfectly. Yeah.
They've got like Weinstein's got like 7 other masks that they made at a special like a props, you know, factory, and he's like, these will work, and Craven's like, no, I've got this thing in my garage, we'll just wipe it off, and that's going to be the winner. And it's such an iconic look, you know. It really, I remember growing up for sure, like tons of people dressed like this character before I even really knew what that it was. Like I just remember seeing that everywhere. And I remember very, very specifically, I guess it was kind of tricky. Like anybody could make a Scream costume, I guess, because it was, you know, just this random toy factory made it, you know, years prior. But like, I remember the big thing was there was the Ghostface mask, and then there was like this pump where you could make it bleed. Do you guys remember this?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What the hell was that?
I do. Yes, my friend had one of those masks. I remember that.
I remember at my school, the year that happened, so many kids showed up and started making their masks bleed, and it was a real problem for the staff of the
Yeah,
school.
I can only imagine that.
That
Imagine
was
Henry Winkler being your principal and like having to deal with that.
Oh my god,
Because we didn't
Henry
even touch upon
Winkler in
him,
this
and
movie.
he's so good in it, and I would be terrified if he was my principal. But then again, like, mad props to him, because I'd be the same way. Like, you guys are a bunch of little fuckers. Like,
He's a hard ass. Like when he has
Yeah.
the scissors and he's like in that kid's face, you're just like, oh fuck.
yeah, but it's like these kids are out of control. We gotta reel
Yeah.
them in. These
tame
kids
them
were
real quick.
these kids were mocking a trauma victim in the hallway with their stupid Halloween costumes. I was like, when he expelled them, I was like, hell yeah. We love to
right?
see it. We love to see a delinquent expelled.
But then we
But-
also don't get to see him gutted on the football field. Like,
Right.
Yeah, which was something else they shot that was cut. God damn it.
that would have been cool to see, but I get why they definitely left it out, because I feel like, not that it would have like lost track of the film, but it's like, how do you go from the football field then to everything still happening at the house, kind of, in a sense. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's good that once you're at that house at the end, you don't cut away, which I also understand was like they shot that sequence for days upon days upon days, because so much time is spent in that house. Like it was like a 20-day shoot, just everything in that house party scene at the very end.
and it's like one of the most iconic scenes like in any film. I feel like they generalize and literally like they don't create the rules of like surviving a horror film, but they touch upon like everything from watching all of these horror films.
Also,
as kids,
I wish when I was in high school, house parties were like that. Like you just had a group of kids watching scary movies.
Right?
Like that's so sick. But instead
we do that now just virtually though.
Yeah.
Molly water.
I'm 100% Randy, where it's like the party's going and everybody's doing their thing, and there's always a movie on, but like no one's watching it. I'm like, I'm sitting down, I'm watching this. And then somebody sits down and they're like, what is this? And like that gives me my opportunity to explain the entire movie to them. And they're like, whoa, it's fucked up. And then they leave. Like that's my role at the party. I'm the guy on the couch watching the movie and potentially petting the dog if there's a dog in the house as well. It's about as like engaged as I get. So I totally get Randy. You know, everybody's got their own thing going on. Randy's like, I want to explain the rules of Halloween to everybody. Except in this world, they're all super into what he's got going on, and I'm very envious of that.
Yeah, right? He has a whole like gaggle of kids just like totally
listening to him.
And like, hell yeah, and they're like voting on movies and stuff.
Right?
Like, where the fuck was that crew when I was a kid?
Right?
Yeah, where were the Hellraiser fans at my house parties? I don't remember that. Getting sad because we weren't watching Hellraiser. Yeah, no, Randy would totally have a podcast. If this movie was made right now, Randy would be a podcaster. 100%.
You know, podcasting is going to be a huge thing in this movie too.
And Five Cream?
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
I mean, they brought in podcasting into Dexter New Blood. Like,
that is true. Well, even in like Scream 4, like they have like they're like live streaming like the whole thing, like the kills and just like everything happening and stuff like that. That it's like, what's the next generational thing that they're gonna do in it? It's either TikTok or podcasting. So
yeah, that's true, Mike. Randy would be a guest on this show.
Absolutely.
Dude, can we just get Jamie Kennedy on this? Are you watching Jamie Kennedy?
Look, let's just say we haven't not tried. Let's just say we haven't not tried to contact Jamie Kennedy at least one time. We'll keep trying, you know, goals. It's a whole new year.
Yeah, I want a Randy t-shirt. I have Casey Becker on here. I want like a Randy one. That says like vote for Randy or something. It's not Pedro, but Randy. Like I think that would be so epic.
Where I get all my Scream stuff, I have like probably like 5 different Scream shirts and hoodies. Yeah, I've always been looking for a Randy one. I can't find a Randy one.
All right, we gotta make this happen. I'm gonna look on Etsy. I'll spend $30 on a shirt that they made for $5 that I could make myself. But
$50 on a shirt.
Yeah,
Justice for Randy. Bring him back.
That's what I want on the shirt. Justice for Randy.
Justice.
There
for
we
Kirby.
go.
Justice for B-Rad.
B-Rad.
I was thinking about Malibu's Most Wanted. I'm gonna revisit that movie.
That's a great movie.
I can't wait.
Can we do that on Really Scared? And then we'll also get Jamie Kennedy on there too.
Maybe that's the key. There's not people hitting him up to podcast about Malibu's Most Wanted. They're like, oh, now that's a fascinating story that I could revisit through a modern.
Right?
I want to rewatch that as an adult because I thought that was a 10 out of 10 classic as a child, and I would love to see what.
Don't lie, you still think it is.
I think I still have the DVD on my shelf right now. So
what, the clasp one where it's like cardboard and you have to like
Dude,
the black plastic
for Kangaroo Jack.
Kangaroo Jack. Well, I feel like those movies are totally within the same realm. Kangaroo Jack.
Yes.
I won't forget being pissed off when I saw Kangaroo Jack.
That kangaroo ain't talking.
Great film.
Yeah, that kangaroo ain't talking. You sold me on a kangaroo, and that kangaroo talked for 5 minutes.
What kind of drugs are they on? That's what I want to know.
Pissed off about that movie.
Pissed off. Something else I love about Scream is
something else I love about Kangaroo Jack.
Yeah. Speaking of Kangaroo Jack, something I love about Scream is the way that they play with your expectations of like the culprit's identity, because I feel like real early on there, obviously it's very obvious that they're like telegraphing Billy as the guy, and they don't really waste too much time in you know, bringing him in and looking at him as a suspect. But then that they very early on kind of exercise him and give him an alibi and make him seem innocent. It's like so that by the time you come to the end and no, he was one of the guys, it's like this weird like double pivot swerve where like, well, it's obviously him, so it's not him, but because it is him, it feels like a swerve all over again.
Yeah, that's what I loved about it, because I remember, like, I mean, obviously the first time I watched this was like literally probably like almost 20 years ago, but like you're just like, oh shit, it's definitely Billy, and then you're like, oh, maybe it's
and then you're
not.
like, it's not Billy. What the fuck?
Yeah.
But it's like, but throughout the whole film, they really do kind of like not glamorize it to be him, but you're just like, it's got to be this man. It's the pretty boy. Like, he's very suspicious. Like, and I mean, you find out it is him, but it's not only just him. It's also his best mate, Stu, that the whole time is like literally cracking jokes about all of the kills. Like, how does no one else think that's like
Sydney like turns to like run out of the kitchen and then runs into Stu, and then he pulls out the voice changer and is like, surprise. I was like, oh god, that scene still like hits me to this day. Like the like dread that like comes over her where she's like, oh fuck.
It's
like,
not just one.
Everybody talks about like J.J. Abrams like creating the mystery box. It was Wes Craven and Kevin Williamson. Like, even to this day, like every movie going forward, they like created multiple scripts to avoid leaks after the second one, because the second one, the script got leaked on like message boards and stuff when that was like a huge thing, and so they had to like rewrite it. Or maybe that was the third one. It might have been the third one, and that's why it's kind of like choppy. But going forward, they like made multiple scripts, and even this one, like each character got their own script to where like it was a different killer. So like even if something gets leaked, like there's no telling what's real.
The truth. Yeah.
And I love like recently they like released a poster that's like the killer's on this poster, but then you have
I thought that was so
and it's like obviously it's Ghostface, like that's the killer.
I thought that was hilarious, and that's like the whole. I love what they're doing with the whole marketing campaign of this new film.
With this campaign, and it just like makes me fall in love. So I remember when Scream 4 came out, I was like the only one in my high school like, this movie fucking rules.
It does rule, man. I'm with you.
It's like 4 is my favorite next to 1. Like 1 and 4 are like top of the list for me.
Same.
I love both of those. But like I can't wait for this new one. It's like I just love Scream so much. Like it's just a fun time.
We got my good buddy Frankie Alvarez in the chat. supports Rick Radis. I don't know what show would ever support Rick Radis. I don't know what you're talking about, sir.
Don't worry, I don't have one of those pins, so we're good.
But she definitely wants one. Frankie, what are we going to get you in the hot seat, buddy? What's your favorite? What's your favorite scary movie?
Favorite scary movie.
Tell me about that, huh?
It's like, imagine Ghostface asks, like, I wonder if they're going to ask that in the new film. Because, like, what happened if one of them says, like, they can't say, I mean, they could say stab, I guess. I mean, they can't say scream. But, like, I hope one of them says stab. Like,
yeah.
Stab 5 when there's time travel. Like,
right. There's you mentioned a great element that I hadn't really thought about, Connor, which is like what these have other than versus the other slasher movies is the mystery element, which none other really have. Like, there's no, when you watch Halloween, there's no question of who Michael Myers is. He's Michael Myers. Like, that's always the consistent beat. This one has somebody different every single time. And, you know, the fact that remains intriguing movie after movie after movie, the simple question of like, who is it this time? You know, it's a very, you know, and I mean this genuinely, it's a very like Scooby-Doo kind of
quality to it. And it's not only that, but it's also what's the motive?
Yeah.
Like, each one has like such a creative motive and like a
Connor, you don't need a motive.
It's true.
But they do have a motive in this one.
No, they do. But
they
like,
always have a motive, no matter what they say. There's always a motive, except for the fourth one. There really is no motive. She just
wanted the fame. She just wanted the fame. She wanted to be Sydney.
Yeah, she just wanted to be Sydney. But this one, like, they're like, it's the millennia. You don't need a motive. But then you realize, like, the whole, like, there is a motive. And then Stu, I love that when, like, they're going over, like, when Billy is like, "You're a whore mother," and then like Stu is like, "Oh fuck." Killing people for fun. Stu really, Stu is the true maniac.
Oh, 100%.
Stu is the true maniac because he would, when you like watch it as many times as I'm sure like all of us have over the years, like each time I watch it, I realize Stu, like when Billy is talking about his actual motive, Stu's like, I'll go with it, but I was just killing people because I wanted to kill people.
Yeah. Like, my favorite though is like,
to kill people.
Yeah, when he's on the phone with Sydney and Sydney's like, "So what are you gonna tell the cops when they get there?" And he's like, "Peer pressure. I'm far too sensitive." Like, like that's like what? But if you think about it, he really is like the pure psycho because he's cracking jokes about all of these kills the whole time.
Yeah,
like the liver alone like joke and like like gutting her out. Like he the whole time just like thought it was for shits and giggles. And obviously, like Billy is a psychopath, but like his motive at least was like to get revenge, like on like because of like the whole situation with his mom and such. But yeah, Stu's just doing it for fun. He's just like
he just wanted to kill people.
Yeah.
And like everybody glosses over that. They're like, "Oh, Billy's a psychopath." It's like, yes, but Stu's a bigger psychopath because he was just doing it for fun.
Yeah.
Billy's whole involved thing is just basically Stu's excuse to act out on like his worst impulses.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, not to excuse Billy, but he has this very, you know, damaged ideology that leads him there, and this experience that gets him to be, you know, so hateful and homicidal. But Stu's just like, hell yeah, buddy! Like finally you're speaking my language. Let's go have some fun, right? Like he needed somebody to push him off the ledge, and after that he's just free falling and having the time of his life. So much so, he can't even like contain his jollies when he's in his civilian life. He's laughing and cracking jokes and being incredibly insensitive towards people who are supposed to be his friends. You know, he kills his girlfriend as like collateral just to make it seem like they could be innocent in the end.
Which is never confirmed, but I'm very convinced that Stu killed
Tatum.
Yeah.
Or Casey. Because he was dating Casey too. I think Billy.
Yeah, I think he killed Casey and Tatum.
Okay, see, I kind of think I don't know though, because in the film though, Tatum was like, he was with me, and he was like, yeah, I was, like that whole thing. And then obviously,
I think Tatum would give him an alibi.
That is true. Maybe because he probably just came over right after, or like around like a similar time, just how Billy did as well.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, they never really come out and say like who is killing who.
Yeah, they
like,
don't do the Saw thing where it like goes back and shows like how it's
I'm glad
done.
they don't, but
they're just like, yeah, you can guess who killed who.
I mean, and there's definitely like a height differential, so I'm very curious. Like, I mean, obviously it's probably just one person wearing that mask. Like, well, actually, maybe I'm gonna go back and watch to see if there's a height differential at all. But it's kind of hard to tell. But
it's very hard to tell because I do that every single time I rewatch any of them. I'm like, who's who? And like you never can tell. But Stu is still definitely alive because he is in the second one. He's in the second one.
That is true. He's at the party.
Cream? Oh wait, you're right. Yeah, he is in the second one.
He's
right.
like in like a corner, like a.
He's in the background at the party scene.
Mm-hmm.
You think he's coming back in 5?
No, I do think
I absolutely. I think it's a huge missed opportunity for like popularity because Matthew Lillard, if you don't know, is like very fucking big like on the internet right now. After like Good Girls and everything, like everybody loves Matthew Lillard. And
he's just awesome too. Like he'll always be my Stu in my.
If he's like a surprise character in this movie, everybody's gonna be like, "You need to see this fucking movie." Matthew Lillard.
Dude, I'm telling you, he's gonna be in a jail cell, and he's gonna be all fucked up. He got electrocuted, and he's pulling.
We're going into like Spider-Man territory, where like they're definitely fucking in it. Like,
right?
He's in it. He has to be.
People are harassing.
Him to be pulling the strings the whole time. Like he's the mentor to one of the kids or something to make all this stuff happen.
Well, that's, if I remember correctly, that was basically going to be the plot for the third movie originally.
Yes,
they were going to bring him back, and he was going to be leading like a sort of a cult of like young, and you know,
and it was going to lead into this new trilogy with 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah, and they pulled the plug on it because Columbine happened, and they were like, well, you know what, maybe the idea of a bunch of high school kids becoming killers is just not what people need right now. Which is also, you know, not to be too morbid, but this movie kind of ahead of its time in a way, because my understanding of the two kids who were responsible for those killings, like, were kind of the same thing.
And music.
Well, yeah, that too, and then like their own like mentality was like, one was really involved in it and like really had thought it out, and the other was just kind of tagging along and doing it because his friend was doing it. So it's like weird parallel there between this movie and real life events, you know, a couple years later. And speaking out of its time, I never really had this read of the movie until recently. It's been a while since I've watched it, and all the more ironic considering who produced it. But I feel like this movie is very ahead of its time in being about women, victimized women who nobody will believe.
Yeah.
That read had never struck out to me until now. But when you think of Sydney's mother and what had happened to her, and like the media circus that surrounds it, and, you know, Gail's.
Apparently, that's what the third one is about, because like I think there's this podcast called Halloweenies, and they do like, it's all about like horror movies, and they did like a Scream series.
Yeah.
And they were talking about the third one, and apparently in like early 2000s, like the word about like Weinstein was going around, but nobody believed him. And Craven didn't want to do the movie because of the Weinsteins. But he was under contract. And that whole subplot with like the head of like the studio making Stab 3 and stuff, like that whole thing.
That makes sense now, yeah.
Fuck you to the Weinsteins. And Craven was like, I will leave the movie if you like cut this out.
Right.
And so they had to put it in because like they wanted Craven and he was under contract and all this stuff. So like the whole movie is a fuck you to the Weinsteins.
I never thought about that. That's so fucking true, though.
That's terrific.
Scream 3 is probably my least favorite of all of them, but I kind of just got a lot more respect from it now, thinking about it that way.
Yeah, when you watch it again and you realize who produced it and like the like intentions behind it, it's like actually a pretty good movie.
Yeah,
now I'm gonna have to.
I mean, that's pretty remarkable about this series too. Is, even the low points of it are like they aren't truly low. It's just comparatively
The
low.
third one has one of the scariest moments in the whole entire series. When she sees the vision of her mom walking up.
Oh yeah,
as a ghost, like that scene freaks me out.
Yeah. The consistency of quality in these is so great, and obviously a lot of that has to do with having a legend at the helm the whole time. It doesn't get the sort of sequelitis symptom that Elm Street does. Like, it doesn't get away from him. It doesn't become this studio cash grab. Obviously we're about to finally get the first one ever without Craven, but I trust that they're going to do a great job. It looks like they are so far, and all accounts off the set and the people in it, that they're very happy with how it's turned out, and the respect it's paid to the legacy of the films that came before. But this is just a top to bottom, a great series, which in the world of slasher franchises is maybe unique specifically to this and nothing else. Like, what other series has
series going on 25 years later?
Yeah,
that, and like in each film, it's always a different killer, and that's what I enjoy. Like, we touched upon that earlier, but it's so true that in every film there's a different killer, so you don't know what to expect. There's always a different motive behind it all.
Like how you get going into the movie. It's like, I can't wait to like try to crack the mystery behind this movie. And like when you don't crack it and it's like a huge surprise, it's so much. Like, I didn't see like the reveal in 4 coming.
Yeah, me either.
I was like, holy shit, this is so good.
Yeah,
like it's just these movies, and this movie specifically, what it launched, it's just like you can't not respect it.
Yeah, you can't deny that it really did like change the genre for the better.
Yeah.
And that's why it will forever be my favorite scary movie.
Boom.
I just want a killer to I don't want a killer to call me, but like if they were to ask me what my favorite scary movie is, I'd be like, Scream, and now quiz me on a bunch of horror movies because I got you right now. I ain't gonna fucking die.
Yeah, ask me who dies first. It's Steve, motherfucker, not Casey.
Yeah, don't be like Casey and blurt that answer out. Take your full 15 seconds to think about it.
Exactly.
You just
Mrs. Boys, come on.
You gotta visualize it before you speak it, just to be safe. This is really as perfect as a horror movie can be. It is kind of astounding that it took us this long to get to it, but I'm glad that this was the way in which we did. It's been such a fun time talking about this. Is there anything about Scream, the original, not 5 Cream, that we have not covered yet that we'd like to?
We really didn't talk about Sydney.
Oh yeah, Sydney.
And she is a badass chick for the trauma that she's endured throughout the whole thing. I mean, yeah, sleeping with the serial killer probably wasn't the smartest thing to do, but I mean, she wasn't down there when Randy was giving the rules of never have sex,
right?
At a party or just in a horror movie. But for what she endures, though, she really does handle her own, I think, in this film.
Yeah, she's a badass.
Yeah.
And she's my favorite final girl.
Same. Hands down. I did an episode on Amaru's show of, like, top final girls.
Yeah.
And for me, it will forever be Sydney.
I'm very beholden to Laurie Strode. Part of that's probably
because people are, but Sydney's mine. Just because she's such a badass, and like encountering, like, say what you will about Halloween and how many times Laurie Strode has, but it's like the continuity is pretty fucked up. But Scream, the continuity is straightforward.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
And she's dealing with this shit constantly.
And she had trauma before this even happened, before the attacks even happened. She already had trauma because of something major happening in her life.
Yeah.
Right. So she already shows up as a survivor and as somebody who's dealing with a lot. And then, those internal feelings become external when she's literally being chased down.
When she steals like the voice changer and is fucking with them.
Like,
oh my God.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
pissing off Billy and Stu.
That's one of my favorite scenes. The last 20 minutes of this film is honestly my favorite 20 minutes of any film to ever be created.
And how
Because,
many
like, the whole thing of
bullets she puts in a killer's head?
yeah, like
Yeah. Yeah, she does
not
get
in
the
my movie. Like, it's just so great that, like, it's so just meta, and she's, like, taking a stand that, like, yeah, these guys have been torturing me this whole friggin' movie, but isn't gonna stop me for, like, making sure I survive and, like, helping the ones I kinda, like, love in a sense, like
and by the end, the killers are kind of scared, you know, like
Yeah.
they're
they
screwed.
yeah, the
Wait,
great
Stu's on the phone like, "My mom and dad are gonna be so mad at me."
My
Like,
mom's gonna be so mad.
I think I'm dying, dude.
yeah, like, they're literally killing each other, and, like, you can literally see Stu now is finally like, "Holy shit, she called the police, like, we're fucked if we
Did you
don't get
really
her
call
killed
the
within the next few
police?
minutes." Like, and same with Billy, they're like, "We're screwed now, like, we have to finish this." And the fact that she was able to stand her own, like, yeah, she did have the help of Gail, and I mean, Randy was just there and so wasn't Dewey, but, like, Gail really did help her because who knows what would've happened, but, like, the
Yeah,
fact that it was 2
and
chicks at the end that defended it.
Yeah.
when Billy and or Stu and Randy come up to the door, she's like, "Fuck both of you."
Yeah,
Like,
she's
I'm
smart,
not
that's what
taking
I mean.
any
Smart chick.
chances, and slams the door in their faces. Like, well, that's like one of the smartest moments in any horror movie where like the victim is like, I'm not taking any chances based on like how nice either of you have been to me. Fuck both of you.
Yeah.
Right. Right. And at
And
the
she did
end,
run upstairs.
yeah.
She was upstairs when the whole thing happened. Or did she run upstairs? I don't know. But at least she was smart enough to jump out a window and not just like hide upstairs like any
Yeah.
other chick does in a horror movie. Like, sorry, Laurie Strode,
Yeah.
but hiding in the closet, not smart. Like,
I know. I will say Sydney does a lot more with less movies compared to Laurie Strode, who has like, I mean, she's not in all of them, but like a dozen plus films to like,
yeah,
you know,
3 continuities or something.
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
maybe 4. I don't even know.
Sydney gets a lot more done with less runtime, and by the end of this movie, like it's not quite the like cliche final girl thing where you know she's the innocent, you know, everyday girl who you know has to work her way through the bloodshed and become a total badass by the end.
Mhm.
Like she, like you said, she already kind of has this edge to her because of what she's been through. But and by the end, you know, after Billy and Stu go through their stupid, you know, exposition like James Bond villain speech, they can't help themselves. They're so proud of themselves. They at the end of the day, it becomes her versus 2 scared little boys like shaking on the ground,
Yep.
you know, and she kills one with a TV and just point blank blasts the other in the head. Like, you know, Randy even calls it out like he's going to get up. And then when he does, everybody flinches except Sydney and she just takes him out. Like,
Yeah.
even finishes him with that
She's a
Schwarzenegger-esque
boss.
one-liner, you know, not in my movie. It's perfect. No, she is great. I would say, you know, I think recency bias too for me for Laurie Strode, but I mean, Sydney, you know, being the center of every single one of these movies,
Mhm.
and still finding room to grow and be a compelling character in every single one is a pretty damn, you know, it's a feat that
Yeah.
we're not tired of her by the time the 5th one's ready to come out. And it's, you know, I think obviously this new one, it seems like the big thing is going to be like, oh, we have a ton of new characters, you know, it's
And she has a gun now.
yeah, she has a gun. Yeah, but it's, you know, you always want to see how the plot's going to relate to her, or maybe this one that it seems like part of the point is that the plot doesn't relate to her as heavily as it maybe used to, and how is she going to deal with that? Like, remains a compelling character, and yes, I'm glad you mentioned it, Connor, because we have to give Neve Campbell her flowers, because the whole thing would not work without her at the center of it. So I agree. We have to talk about Sydney. Fuck, this is a great movie, huh?
We've covered our bases. We've covered our rules to survive a horror movie.
Yeah. Yes.
Guys,
Number 1.
Never have sex. What's number 2?
Don't do drugs, kids.
Number 3.
Is it never run upstairs?
It's
Never
listen to the really scary.
Yeah,
Listen
well,
to the
it's
Really
that.
Scare podcast.
Listen to Really Scared.
It is what that's actually number 4, but we'll make it number 3.
If you listen to all
Oh,
of
never
these,
say I'll be right back.
Yeah, never say I'll be right back.
right.
I'll be right back.
Well, this has been a blast. Paige, thank you so much for bringing this movie to us. Finally, we've been waiting so
Yes,
long
I'm
for something.
Thank
so
you
happy
guys.
we
So
got
when
to
the
talk
new
about
one
this.
comes out, can we review it all together?
I would love to. I would love to
Because
do.
I will be right back. Even though supposedly I will.
Should I end it right there? Should I hit the, end the button right there? Yeah, no, we definitely got to talk 5 Cream on this show. I mean, it's impossible that we don't. No, this has been such a blast. I'm really happy that you were the one to bring this film to us. You know, to have a true fan of it. That's the way it should be.
True
so.
Scream aficionado, if you will.
Yeah. What?
Yes.
That feels like an honor that you just called me that. So I just love you guys so much more. But no, it was so nice to be like, I wanted to be on the show for a while, and the fact that like no one chose Scream yet, I was like, it's my favorite scary movie, and I can talk to it about with these 2 gentlemen that obviously love it just as much as I do. So it makes it that much better when you can share the love, discuss the film with someone else that has just as much love as it that I do. So thank you guys.
When Taylor brought it like to my attention that we were talking about Scream, like I was over the moon because like all my icons are like Scream related. I have a Scream tattoo. My watch icon is
a stew.
It's stew. So like I have Scream posters. I have a Stab poster in my living room. Like,
dude, I kind of want to get a Stab
I fucking love Scream. I think it's one of the most iconic horror films. So thank you for choosing Scream.
Well, thank you guys for letting me be able to choose it and come on, because honestly, it's so awesome. Maybe one day we can get our hands on a Stab film if they ever make a full one.
Stab film?
Yeah, can we make that happen
on Laserdisc?
Robert, call us, or maybe we can just like reenact it. We'll make our own.
Yeah, we'll make our own Stab film.
Yeah,
make your own Stab TikTok challenge coming to you soon.
Yes.
Paige, thank you for coming on. Where can all the great ghouls and goblins find you on the internet?
Yeah, you guys can check me out on Instagram and Twitter at Front Page News 9, and you can check me in the Schmodown, Boston Badass. Don't call it a comeback, guys, because I'll be back. Haha, get it? No pun intended. And then I just get stabbed and die off scene.
Yeah,
but I know how to survive a horror movie now thanks to Scream. So
yeah,
there it is. There it is. Well, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a thrill. Ghouls and Goblins at home, thank you for listening, whether it was live here on What Real Entertainment on YouTube and Twitch, or after the fact on your favorite podcast app. The audio always goes up the very next day. Really Scared every Thursday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And until the next one, we will be right back, baby. Stay spooky.